So, wow. Yeah, so let's get started. So, EA. I already did a video on EA, kind of a mashup, kind of edit video. Go check that out right here. It's pretty cool. I think you'll like it. I may do that for the rest of E3, so be looking forward to that. But EA was basically poop. It was terrible. So let's move on. Microsoft started really strong, I thought. I thought the first 30 minutes or so of the presentation was really good. Games were flowing well. There was new game announcements. I didn't really have any complaints. I thought it was flowing really well. They showed some pretty cool indie titles that I didn't know about. They looked really interesting. And then they just kind of, I don't know, fell off a cliff. It got really boring and it started to just drag, and it was just not good. It just didn't close well. I don't know why. Oh, we got basically Miyamoto in Cyberpunk. Yeah. Well, there was this rumor about Miyamoto showing up on Xbox's stage, and it turns out that the person that showed up on Xbox's stage was Keanu Reeves. And he's going to be in Cyberpunk, so that was pretty cool. Huge Keanu Reeves fan all the way back. It's really cool to see him in this game because he's been in other cyberpunk-like movies. You can say, well, The Matrix, but one that people don't really remember all that much, which is Johnny Mnemonic, which I love, and I think this is probably closer to cyberpunk than Matrix is. So Johnny Mnemonic, I love that movie, and it's kind of cool to see Keanu be in a movie that kind of deals with some of that stuff. So pretty cool. The Funko Pop game, the Funko Pop Gears game, I don't know, I don't remember them telling us what type of game it was or what platform it was going to be on, but I don't think I remember them talking about it being a mobile game, and it looks terrible. It looks like total utter shit, and I don't know. I don't get it. And yeah, so get prepared for more mobile game talk because there was plenty of it at E3 this year so far. After that, you got like trailers, CG trailers. Like I said, it just dragged. You got games that were announced within a release date that just gave us trailers, CG trailers. There's going to be more of that as well in E3. And I don't know, it ended kind of, they showed Gears and they showed new modes for Gears, and it was mostly CG trailers about those new modes. I don't understand. I mean, I know that they presented stuff later on for goers of the show to actually play those games and stuff, but we're more people are watching not there than people are there. So when I take the opportunity to show us what the games look like, I mean, I don't understand what's the point. Yeah, so let's just move on to Bethesda because, like I said, Microsoft was just dragged at the end, got boring after the first 30 minutes. So moving on to Bethesda, I was hoping for Bethesda to really, do something at least decent because, like I said, EA shit the bed. Microsoft started well and they kind of crapped the bed later. And then Bethesda was one of the worst. It was just terrible. I guess beforehand they announced that there would be no talk about Elder Scrolls or that new game Starfield, Elder Scrolls 6. And I'm just kind of wondering why announce that you're working on those games a year ago at last year's E3, and then come a year later you have nothing to show or announce. So why even talk about it until you have something ready to show? What is the point of that? I don't get that. Is it the fact that you just had nothing? But those, I'm trying to think, because they didn't really talk that much about Elder Scrolls 6 or Starfield. They kind of just mentioned them, and that was it. So why present these things if the next year you're not going to give us a little bit more, and then the next year a little bit more? Why? I don't understand. What's the point? Don't do that shit. Waiting for the plane to go by. Waiting for the plane to go by. Yeah, so then we got, Elder Scrolls, mobile game stuff and expansions for mobile game stuff and just mobile game talk. And I don't get the mobile game stuff at E3. It's like, here's the thing. When I went to film school, one of my instructors, I can't remember his last name right now, Mark, he actually had won an Emmy. He talked about it a lot. But one of the things he said, when you're working on a new project, when you're working on a TV show or a movie idea, the main thing to do, and he would pound this in our heads over and over again, is know your audience. Know your audience, know your audience, know your audience. And I felt like these publishers, these game developers at E3 didn't know their audience. Yes, there's going to be press types there and whatnot, but there's mostly, core gamers, core gaming fans. And we don't give a shit about mobile. We're never going to. It's not going to happen. Is there some crossover with core gamers who play mobile games? Sure. I'm sure it's like in the 1 or 2 percentile. But for the most part, core gamers like core gaming experiences. We want full-fledged, deeper experiences. And we just don't give a shit about mobile games. And I don't know why you guys don't seem to understand that. There are plenty of platforms for you to advertise your mobile games. YouTube does that shit to me all the time when I click on a video. Especially if I'm on my cell phone, I get the mobile layout in the video or whatnot, and the long screen layout, and they give me that way. Why are you trying to get core gamers to give a shit about mobile? We don't care. We're never going to. There's not going to be much crossover there. Stop wasting our time at E3 with this mobile shit. And it just dragged, and I'm like, they have nothing to show. And they end the show with Doom, which is great, and it looks great, but it looked great when we saw it last time. We already saw this game. I'm very excited for it. Definitely going to get it. I'm going to buy it on 2 platforms. I haven't decided if it's going to be PC and Switch or Xbox One and Switch. It's going to be one of those 2. So I'm going to get it already, and I think most people who care about Doom are going to get it. And it was great that they, had that in the show, but to close the show with that, after all the mobile game bullshit, like, it just showed that Bethesda had nothing to show, and they didn't even need to be there at, just like EA. It was no point for them to be presenting anything at E3 because they didn't really have anything of importance to show. So, waste of time. And now we move on to Bethesda, which I was sure for certain that they were gonna basically save E3 for me, because they have a lot of variety of games that they publish and produce and whatnot, and I was like, yeah, they're gonna definitely do it. There was talks about Watch Dogs. They started the show actually with the symphony orchestra thing, which was kind of weird, but I like it. I always appreciate symphony music. I love watching those people perform. I always think that's amazing what they do. But it was for Assassin's Creed, which I don't think people have any kind of like connection to Assassin's Creed music. I could be wrong, but it's just like, after Nintendo did the Zelda Symphony, which was freaking amazing a few years back, people have been trying to copy that idea, and I just don't think Assassin's Creed is what people care to go out and see at a symphony concert. I could be wrong, but anyway, that was cool. I had no real problem with that. And then the first game they showed was their new Watch Dogs Legions, and the gameplay aspect of this game is amazing. I like that they showed us gameplay right from the get-go, scenarios and whatnot. It's really cool. You can basically almost any NPC in the game, they can become a character. You have permadeath. It's kind of like Zombie U, where you die and you have to come back as a different person. And I thought that aspect of it was really good. I mean, you can play a plethora of different types of people. Now, we've been geeked up on Ubisoft, especially with Watch Dogs before, so I'm hoping that this actually pans out to be what it's showing to be. I have my reservations about that, but the fact that they showed really cool gameplay, I was excited for. I thought that was good, and I was like, man, they're really kind of starting strong here. What else do they have to show? Well, not much, and I'm not going to be going in any real order here. I'm just trying to go off of what I remember. They showed Ghost Recon. It was like military shooter after military shooter. What was it? What's this other game? Division 2 stuff. I don't really care about military shooters, really. They showed some of that. John Barenthal came out. The Punisher came out. He's in Ghost Recon. That was kind of cool. It was a nice breakup of them just kind of boring me to death. He came out with a dog, and a nice, cute dog, and all that stuff. And then we got Splinter Cell. You know, everybody's waiting for Splinter Cell. We finally got it. We got Sam Fisher in a damn mobile game. Another mobile game showcase. Why are you wasting E3 time with this mobile game shit? I don't get it. We don't care. We don't care. They try to get us to care with putting Sam Fisher in it, I think, but the game looks like shit. It just doesn't look that great to begin with. And it felt like, remember Federation Force? We got Federation Force. It's not exactly the same, but it feels that way because we haven't had Splinter Cell in a while. And, you know, nothing from Splinter Cell, nothing from Sam Fisher in a long time. And fans are clamoring for it, so they want a new Splinter Cell game. Just like fans were clamoring for Metroid Prime, after so long a hiatus. And we finally get Federation Force. Now, Federation Force itself isn't a bad game, but it was just not the right time to bring Federation Force out when fans are clamoring for a new game in the series, a new core game. And this felt like that. It felt like we were clamoring for a new Splinter Cell. Splinter Cell is one of my favorite series. Clamoring for a new Splinter Cell, and we get an announcement for Sam Fisher in a mobile game, and it's just a disconnect that felt very similar to Metroid Prime Federation Force, and just trash. And then to continue on in the diarrhea spillage, we get a Just Dance performance that, you know, 98% of the people watching don't give a shit about the performance, or maybe even the game, but certainly not the performance. We don't need that shit at E3. I thought we were past this stuff, but apparently we're not. This pomp and circumstance that is unnecessary for any game, but especially for Just Dance. So we get that, and we get an announcement that it is coming to the Wii. Not the Wii U, but the Wii. Wow. Poor Wii U. They just want to forget that you ever existed. And then the creme de la creme, Uplay Plus. That's right, folks. You can play one of Ubisoft's military shooters from yesteryear, 100 plus games, for $15 a month. Unbelievable. They're not offering any kind of real platform or anything like that. They're charging $5 more than Google Stadia. Holy crap. And speaking of Google Stadia, they've partnered with Google Stadia so you can play Uplay Plus through your Google Stadia. So you can play for Google Stadia, $10 a month, and then put Uplay on top of that, $15 a month, for $25 a month to play this thing through Stadia. Amazing. And I'm like, are you guys fucking kidding me? Are you serious? Nobody is who's gonna do this? Ubisoft does not have enough games to warrant a streaming service. Really? I mean, they've got some games, but are people really gonna pay to stream Rayman 2? Rayman 2 is a great game. It is a great game, but are you gonna pay to stream that? Because they're gonna have to dig for 100 games that anybody would even think about caring about in their repertoire, in their back catalog. Do they have enough to sustain this? They don't put out a huge amount of games every year, so wow. And then they ended their conference with Gods and Monsters, which looks pretty cool. They showed, in-game footage of the game, and they gave us a release date, but they didn't show any damn gameplay. How the hell are you going to give us a release date for a game, a new IP, and we don't have any gameplay? What the fuck is wrong with these people? I don't understand. What? Next up for the conferences, we got. I did see Devolver Digital. There's not really anything to talk about that. The guys are funny. They have a few games or whatever. I watched them. They're funny. It was good. Nothing really to talk about there. They're kind of a small team or small development studio. So, but then we have Square Enix, which, you know, I wasn't hoping would save the day, but I was hoping they would give something cool that would really, you know, blow people's minds. Final Fantasy VII Remake gameplay, which was a cool thing. I'm not really sold on the battle system. I guess I might have to get my hands on that. And then they got into remasters, and boy, it was just this remastered, and well, this is coming to Switch and other consoles, and just a bunch of old games. And The Last Remnant, people were like, almost going crazy for The Last Remnant, and I'm like, really? Nobody cared when that game came out. What was it, 2007, 2008 on Xbox? I have it somewhere. I think I have just a disc because I bought it used somewhere. It was fine. It wasn't anything overly memorable. But people are acting like this is such a great thing that Last Remnant is coming to Switch, or it is on Switch, and I think they dropped it at the time, and I'm like, okay, like, it's an old game, and I think you can get it for like $6 on eBay if you want a physical copy for the 360. We got localizations of games that we never got here before. I think it was the Romancing Saga. That's cool. Even Final Fantasy VIII was announced and coming, and it's good that they finally got whatever legalese they got through to get that thing to happen. It's finally good that happens, but again, it's an old game that I've played multiple times. I'm not excited for it. I haven't bought any of these Square Enix games or Square games from yesteryear on the Switch because I already have them all, physical copies. Why put them on my Switch? It's not a big, I'd rather play them on the original hardware. But good, I guess. And I mean, Square's presentation wasn't bad, but I feel like it reminded me of Eddie Murphy joke. I think it was on Eddie Murphy Raw, where he was like, you know, basically all the other presentations were so whack that because Square's wasn't bad, it was just okay, people gave it more than it should have had. And then again, before I get into that, I just want to make sure I mention the game they closed with, which was Avengers, Marvel Avengers, which they didn't show any gameplay of. I believe they gave us a release date for that too, and there was no gameplay. I mean, there was cinematic gameplay, maybe. I don't think that was in game really, but no gameplay of a game that has a release date. And it's just, why do they keep doing this? It's like they're not respecting my time. Why? What's the point of this? It's pointless. But anyway, like I said, Square Enix show wasn't terrible. So because it wasn't terrible, people were acting like it was so much better than what it was. I think, like I said, the Eddie Murphy joke of, you know, when you're hungry and somebody gives you a cracker and you think it's just the most delicious. That's the best crack I ever had. What is that? Saltine? No, they know saltine. Oh, that's Ritz. They know Ritz. That's the best crack I ever had. And it's just like, you feel like it's such a delicious cracker because you're starving. And everybody was starving, and they act like Square Enix was a great presentation, which it wasn't. It was just okay. There's my interpretations of E3 so far. Nintendo's coming up. I'm gonna do a live reaction. I'm not gonna do it live. I'm gonna record myself watching the Nintendo E3 because I wanted to be, you know, quiet. I want to be able to hear everything, and I'm gonna be talking over it. And I'll upload that later. And us dudes on the Juices Lose podcast, make sure you go over to Terminator Juices channel and subscribe. We're gonna do our take on Nintendo's E3 as well. And I'm sure I'll do a Pretendo Direct, you know, like I do all the time. And we're going to have fun with that. So hopefully Nintendo can bring it home. At this point, a lot of the things that I was hoping that I would see hasn't come to fruition. And some of the expectations on Nintendo, I just toned all that down. I'm just going to watch and hopefully not be disappointed. Yeah! Yes! Banjo-Kazooie! Banjo-Kazooie's in Smash! Yes! Oh, he looks so good. They look so good.